Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to the Genesis class, live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg of the Noahide World Center. This is always a great class. We're joined by people from all around the planet. We got Angela and Mike McConaughey over in the UK, my friend Angelica Davansky in Langley or Vancouver area. Lelaine Garcia, as always, we're joined by Karen Uri today down in Alabama. We got our good friend Netzak in the Czech Republic. Of course, Travis Cox down in Georgia. Always good to have him with us. We got James. We got Hans with us again from Paraguay. We got my friend Johnny Van Stein down in Cincinnati, Ohio. Always good to be with them. So, this is a rabbi's class. Now, I did get a message from Lee Fogel earlier today that he would be joining the class today as well. I haven't saw him for a few weeks. He says he's been missing it. But we finished the Brit Shalom book. For anybody looking to do see the follow along Brit Shalom class, we run it on the Noahide World Center between November 15th on this Genesis class, the Sunday class. November 15th to June 15th are the dates if you ever want to go back and review some of the classes that we had with Lee Fogel sharing it. There was lots of good input from people from all around the planet, questions raised and asked, and we got the Torah perspective and a lot of input from Rabbi Uri Shirky's book, Brit Shalom. It was a beautiful series to have Lee Fogel. I think we all kind of endeared ourselves to Lee. Great fellow, always good when he joins in. But this is Rabbi Goldberg's class, so let's just jump right in and see how the rabbi's doing today. Oh, we got Travis up on the screen. Rabbi Goldberg, how are you today, and how's everything in Israel?
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Everything is fine here in Israel. A bit of a coronavirus and everything else, but all over the world, it's the same problem. So, this is life. We are trying to live even though we have the coronavirus. So we're trying to do our best, and I hope that the only thing I have to say, it's a real virus. It's not something very pleasant. And if you can take the vaccine, take the vaccine. Don't play with this. Good to see you all. And if you're asking me, we can dive inside. I prepared tonight. First of all, I will say with the Brit Shalom book, it's a very good book. We have it already in 12 languages.
12. Wow.
Yes, and I think that we're also teaching it in Portuguese, in Spanish, and in French. So if you want, also we can organize for you the lessons in those languages. And I'm also reviewing it back in the English version, and I'm teaching the people in China in the English version.
Yes, you got a Noahide Thailand class. Yes.
Exactly. So if you want to review it again, so you will find it also. But let's dive inside to the Genesis class. And I prepared tonight that we're going to learn from Genesis, and also we're going to prepare a bit for Rosh Hashanah. Let's start. Another 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, tomorrow night, 2 weeks from now, we have Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year. And I saw that there was few discussions in the WhatsApp that we have, the WhatsApp group that we have about the Rosh Hashanah and how exactly to do that and how exactly to prepare ourselves for that. So we will have also a few words about this, but let's start as usual with the Genesis, what we have always, and let's continue on. So let me share the screen. It is, I think this is it. I think so, yes, here it is. Okay. I want to remind a bit. Now, I prepared a lot of resources. So I'm trying now to remind ourselves for a moment things that we spoke last time, and I will try to rephrase them back to that there will be an exact situation. We are learning now chapter 15, one of the fundamental chapters. And the first thing that we saw last week is that I mentioned last week, now I'm going to show this in two places, all the covenants that God did with human along the Bible, what they call the Old Testament, all of them is a one-way ticket, okay?
Unilateral, beautiful.
Yes, it's only from God to men, that's it. In a moment I will explain how much it's a powerful thing, and why it's also explaining why the Christian world decided not to speak about this or not to show this part of the Bible because it's
Contrary.
taking down the foundations of the, I will say, the mindset of the Christian world. So let's see for a moment, first of all, it is, let's see you see now, okay, fine. You see Genesis chapter 9, right?
Yes, sir, I got it.
And what I want you to read is, it's a bit long. Let's read for a moment. Read verse number
9.
verse number 9 and 11.
9. And I, behold, I am setting up my covenant with you and with your seed after you. Verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you, and never again will all flesh be cut off by the flood waters, and there will never again be a flood to destroy the earth.
Okay, so who is doing the covenant? God is doing the covenant, okay? And what exactly is the covenant? The covenant is the rainbow, as we all know in verse number 13. And look what God is saying it. Please read verse number 17.
17 says, And God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have set up between myself and between all flesh that is on the earth.
So it's very clear. Okay, the covenant is a one-way ticket. It's only God did it for himself.
He set it up. Yeah.
He set it up. It's not related to the behavior of humankind in this world.
No conditions.
No conditions. He said, I'm not going to bring a flood. That's it. So this is the first one. But let's see now another thing that we also showed last time, and this is the chapter that we are inside. I said that this time it's going to be with a lot of things. This is what we are learning. This is the chapter that we are learning. And here is God is saying to him in verse number 7, please.
And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you forth from the Ur of Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it.
And we will speak about this verse in a few more moments. But what the most important thing is, if we are reading verse number 18.
On that day, the Lord formed a covenant with Abram, saying, To your seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt until the great river, the Euphrates River.
Okay, and then he says all the 10 kind of people that were in this land, that he's giving all of them, that Abraham will inherit this land. But again, we see that God formed a covenant with Abraham. It's a one-way ticket. He did it. It's not related not to Abraham and not to his descendants or not his kids, what they will do, what they won't do. This is a one-way covenant. By the way, we can continue on all over the Old Testament, okay, the Bible, and we will see that always it's God doing a covenant without, it's not related to the behavior of men of this covenant. It also says here, okay, that God promising Abraham, and we'll explain this in a few moments, that his kids will be also in some sort of an exile, but it's not breaking the covenant.
Right.
There's a covenant, and there's also, after all, also an exile. So this is the first thing that we saw. Now I want to explain this in a bit more profound way. So for that, I wrote here a sentence, and I'm going to show this in the Maimonides, and then we're going to read the sentence again, okay? Just as God's existence is not void, okay, it's invalid. You can't say that one day God won't be exist anymore. So is the covenant is not void. Now I want to show this for a moment to explain this in a profound way for the Maimonides. So for that, we need to see the beginning of the Maimonides. The Maimonides did something amazing, and he wrote a 1,000 chapters book, okay, 14 parts of this book. It's 1,000 chapters. It's a life thing. He did it for 10 years, and it starts with every book is explaining few of the 16th, 13th mitzvot, commandments of the Jewish people, and he is explaining in details how to fulfill those commandments. Okay, now the first commandments are also related to all nations. Okay, the laws, the foundation of the Torah, the laws of the personal development, and all those things. But the laws of the foundation of the Torah is to know that there is a God. This is something that is also a bit related to the Noahide. So it's a question how much they are supposed to do that or not. We explained 3 weeks ago that there are a few ways how to learn that God is here in this world. One way is through the history, what the Kuzari is doing. The Maimonides is going through a different way through the brain. And please, Dan, read the first 4, it's called halachot, but the first 4 points that he is explaining how we are learning what is the understanding that God is existed in this world.
Okay, first 4. 1, the foundation of all foundations and the pillar of wisdom is to know that there is a primary being who brought into being all existence. All the beings of the heavens, the earth, and what is between them came into existence only from the truth of his being. 2, if one would imagine that he does not exist, no other being could possibly exist. 3, if one would imagine that none of the entities aside from him exist, he alone would continue to exist, and the nullification of their existence would not nullify his existence, because all the other entities require him, and he, blessed be he, does not require them, nor any one of them. Therefore, the truth of his being does not resemble the truth of any of their beings. 4, this is implied by the prophet's statement in Jeremiah 10:10, and Hashem, your Lord, is true. He alone is true, and no other entity possesses truth that compares to his truth. This is what is meant by the Torah's statement in Deuteronomy 4:35. There is nothing else aside from him. Aside from him, there is no existence like his.
There is no true existence like his. So what we're saying here, those are the 4 main statements that is starting what is God and who is God. And again, as you can see also in the beginning, that the Maimonides is speaking about the wisdom. Okay, I won't go inside to the Maimonides because it's a very big, heavy issue, but the main thing here is to realize that there is an existence thing that is called God. The rest of the world, the only existence that we have in the rest of the world, everything that is because that he gave him God gave him some sort of life, some sort of existence in this world. But God could be existed in this world without anything else.
No dependencies.
It's not dependent on anybody else, but everything else is dependent on the existence of God. Now let's go back, and we're starting to realize when God is doing a covenant with the world, with the people of this world, in Noah, with Abraham, with Isaac, with Jacob, whoever it is, when God is doing the covenant, as just like God will never get vanished, will never won't be here anymore. And the same thing, always this covenant is established and won't void ever. And this is a very important point, because in the understanding, and this is things that we explained last week, now I'm showing this also with the sources. It's not in a mistake that the fathers of the church decided in the 13th century not to show anymore the Old Testament. Because in the Old Testament, when you read it in the right way, how it's written down, I'm not speaking also about the oral Bible that we have. When you read it, you see that God is doing covenant from time to time with men, with Noah, with Abraham, with Isaac, with Jacob, and everything else in Genesis. And the thing is that he's doing it in a one-way ticket. He's doing it in a way that he decided to do this. And it's just like his existence is not dependent on anything else. His decision of covenant is not dependent on anything else. And if he decided to do this as a covenant, it won't vanish ever. It won't stop ever. And especially that we see in this chapter that we read in a few minutes ago in chapter 15, that God is saying that the Hebrew nation will have also a situation of the diaspora and coming back. So you can't say, okay, because they went to the diaspora, he finished his covenant with the Hebrew nation.
Right.
In a moment, we will see exactly in a more profound way or in a more inside way, exactly the Hebrew nation, I will say, mission in this world and why he is doing it in this way. From time to time in the Hebrew land, and time to time it was also outside in the diaspora. But first of all, we need to knowledge this first point. Then let's continue on and let's go to point B, number 1. Okay. Another thing that we explained: a person does not pay for the sins of his ancestors or the sins of someone else. This is very important also to realize this. And we show this also with the inside Deuteronomy, where it's loud and clear. We showed it in a few places, but I'm going to show you only this verse in this point of time. Okay, please read verse number 16.
16. Fathers shall not be put to death because of sons, nor shall sons be put to death because of fathers. Each man shall be put to death for his own transgressions.
Okay, this is very important. And we can ask a lot of questions about this, but the main point of this verse, I would say, and we saw that it's also being followed up with the kings later on and with the Yechezkel and with others. The main point that we understand here, that also when we're speaking about Adam and Eve, for example, who did a sin, it's not that something outside of us supposed to do a rebellion or to help us to cover up the sins that they did because we are following their sins. No. They did a sin, it's okay. They will get punished for their sins, and we are in a different situation, and we need to behave in the right way, and we're not carrying on the sins of Adam and Eve. And this is how we are saying this also. What we explained is that every man is living, okay, inheriting to his kids, okay, the character traits, okay, that he has some sort of a character that he is building up in himself, and also from time to time also wrong or false understanding. And for example, I will give an example. It's a hard example, but please follow me, and if you have questions, ask me, okay? We know that the fathers of the Hebrew nation, we have 3 fathers of the Hebrew nation. Each one of them have different character in the role that he is holding and giving us as an inheritance. Now, we don't have 1, we have 3. Abraham is the one with the kindness, with the charity, with the graciousness, okay, with the grace. Exactly. Isaac is the one with the law, okay, and Jacob is the one that is doing some sort of a compassion between those two. We call this emet. We call this some sort of the insight. Now, each one of them is giving to the Hebrew nation some sort of a characterism that is inside the Hebrew nation. Okay, the Hebrew nation is a kindness nation. Is a kind nation. Where do you see that? For example, I'll give an example of those days. Okay, in Syria, okay, the state above us that is in the north to the Israel state, they have already for 10 years a very hard inside wall between themselves. Now, a lot of people, there are a lot of refugees from Syria that are going to Europe, but there are also a lot of refugees that are trying to come inside to Israel. Now, we're not allowing them to come to Israel, but we have a hospital for the last 10 years on the borders of Israel, and we are treating people who are coming to those hospitals, even though they are not, some of them are very against the Hebrew nation. But the Hebrew nation can't see such a big, I would say, problem of people without helping them. Now, in the last 10 years, they're speaking about this. There is one journalist from Canada who came to Israel 7 years ago. I need to find this short movie that she did. She came to Israel to show how much we are occupying the Palestinian people. Now, she went in a lot of places, and she also went to the border in Syria, next to Syria and all those places. And she did a different, she said that everything is just the opposite than she thought, because she saw that it's not like the journalists are trying to say. Now, this kindness that we have, that we got from Abraham, can bring us to a situation where some of our people are saying, so maybe we don't need to inherit this land. Maybe we don't need to sit down in this land. Maybe we need to give this to the Palestinian. Now, we know that the Hebrew people are debating inside themselves. Why that? Because Abraham, that he also said to God, I will show you in a moment. Let me see if I'm finding it. Okay. Abraham also, when God is saying to him, I'm giving you this land to inherit it, okay, this land to inherit it. So he's saying to him, okay, God, how will I know that I will inherit it? But Abraham himself have some sort of a doubt because of his kindness, because of this mercy that he have inside himself, saying to himself, are you sure? And then we explained last week that God is saying to him, yes, I'm going to give it. This is a covenant that I'm doing. It's one-way ticket. I'm going to do this. So those are things that we can take from our fathers. Those are things that we can give to our next generations. Let's go to another point, okay? The next point is that there is a new identity is being built as a result of an action. This is something that I want to explain, especially with Adam and Eve, okay? What exactly happened between Adam and Eve? What happened there, that in the first 3 chapters, okay, we have a situation in the first 3 chapters of the Bible. We have a situation where the Bible is describing nothing that is happening in this world. It is describing things that's happening in heaven. We explained this in a very long session.
Chapter 4 and earlier, yes.
Everything there is explaining what's happening up in heaven. When we have someone, God forbid, that is dying, and we're putting him inside the cave, that we're burying him, and the young grandson is asking, where's grandpa? And we're answering him, no, he went to heaven, but the body is here, but the soul is in heaven. So when we're speaking about heaven, and we're speaking about Adam and Eve in heaven, this is a different identity. They are in an identity of a soul and not the identity of the body. When God is taking them outside from heaven, he is bringing them to this world where it's with the body, and the soul is related with the body. And this brought a new identity to this world, where every person in this world is also at the end of his time, is dying. The spirit side, the soul side is going back to God, and the body is staying here. So a new identity came to this world because of their sin. And this new identity brought a situation where people are also dying. But it's not that everyone is being here in this world with a sin. More than that, we can see, how do you say this, Kohelet in English?
Ecclesiastes.
Ecclesiastics. We see here something very interesting. One of the verses that King Solomon said in verse number 29. Please read verse number 29.
See, only this one have I found, for God made man straight, but they sought many intrigues.
God made every man in this world straight men. Okay? Everyone who is being born in this world is a straight man. And everything is clear. Everything is clean. He can come to heaven. What is happening? Here in this world, he might do bad things, bad behavior. He might do good behavior. I got a very good question this week from, as usual, for a moment I'm closing the share screen. I want to see him in front of me. I got a very good question this week from James. You see, and he noted a very good point. He said, I want to be being written down in the book of life. Okay, in those coming few days that we have from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, I'm going to speak about this in the second part of the lesson. We are being written down in book of life, or book of death, or book of the people who are being held, we'll say it like that, for a few days. And I want to be in the book of life. The way to be in book of life is to behave in the right way. Now, I'm showing this again, okay? God created all of us. God created all of us in a good shape, in a good way. Just it is what it is. God created all of us, how he says it, in a straight way. Our behavior is what will decide if we are in the right way or not in the right path. We can also do repeatedness. Through repeatedness, by doing repeatedness, we are going back close to God. We are getting connected back with God. And he is taking the bad behavior and doing whatever he wants to do. And this is what I expressed here with the thing of Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve, they did a situation that they brought a new identity to this world with their sin. But it's not saying that each one of us who was born in this world, we are born with a sin. No, we are in a different identity until the Messiah will come and we will go back to a different identity, to the first identity. Another point that it must be mentioned, and we also explained this once, but it was 2 or 3 years ago. The word bara, Bereshit bara Elohim. God created this world. The word creation, okay, bara is creation. In Aramaic, the word or the meaning of this word is outside. God created us outside of him. We are not part of God. Maybe we have a spark of God inside us. This is what we call the soul. But we are not God. God, for example, and this is something that I'm always saying, God is all the time is giving. And when we are, as human beings, we all the time receiving. We need to receive air to live. We need to receive food. And when we are very young, we also want all the time, all the toys by us. Give me, give me, give me. And only when we are starting to grow up a bit, we're managing to realize that we also need to give and not only to take. And the ultimate thing of giving is to give life, like we got life for free, okay? And until we're not moving to this point of also giving to others, we are feeling very outside of God. We are feeling very far from God. And what is the meaning of this? I want to show this in few places. Let's see this first in Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve did the sin, and God decided that he is going to punish them. So what exactly is he doing with them? Let's read it for a moment. Read verses number 23 and 24.
23, and the Lord God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to till the soil whence he had been taken. And he drove the man out, and he stationed from the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim and the blade of the revolving sword to guard the way to the tree of life.
Look in verse number 23 and verse number 24. We have twice the word that he sent him out. So from now on, every man in this world is feeling outside of God, far from God. Okay, let's continue on. Let's see this for a moment. What is happening with Cain? And you know what, I can move here. That's also the same. What is happening with Cain? After Cain is doing his sin, okay, and God is saying to him, I know what we need to read this. Verse number 7 also, please.
7. Is it not so that if you improve, it will be forgiven you? If you do not improve, however, at the entrance, sin is lying, and to you it is longing, but you can rule over it.
Very important point, but you can rule over it. Okay, you can decide if you are going after the sin or you are ruling the sin. But this is what I didn't want. It's not what I wanted to show. I wanted to show something else. After we have Adam and Eve who are going out from God, now let's see what is happening with Cain. Please read verse number 12.
12. When you till the soil, it will not continue to give its strength to you. You shall be a wanderer and an exile in the land.
Whoa. Second time. So we have Adam and Eve outside. We have Cain, who is a wanderer and an exile. And then we have the Babylon tower. Okay, let's see what's happening in the Babylon tower. This time I prepared myself, as you can see. Please read verse number 8.
8. And the Lord scattered them from there upon the face of the entire earth, and they ceased building the city.
Whoa. Again, look at this
Scattered
happening.
them.
Look at this happening. We're starting to realize that all of the nations, until this point of time, we don't have the Hebrew people. Okay? We don't have, they are mentioned in the chapter before, but we don't have the Hebrew people. But what we have till now is that people are feeling in this world as a wanderers, as a people who are in the exile, the people who are scattered, the people who are not feeling comfortable and at home. Fine, it's written down. Now, what is happening now in chapter 15? What is God saying to Abraham? Please read verse number 7.
7. And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you forth from the Ur of the Chaldees to give you this land to inherit it.
Oh, this is the first time. Abraham, he can't believe that this is what he's hearing. I'm going to change the situation. Till now, everybody is feeling that we are not grounded, okay? We're not on the place. We're not feeling comfortable. Suddenly, God is saying to me, this is what Abraham is saying, that I'm going to inherit a place. I'm going to feel comfortable in my place. Now we're starting to realize why Abraham is saying to him, are you sure that this is what's going to happen? I will say it like that. Abraham is hearing in this promise that God is saying to him, I'm going from now on to change the situation, that you're going to bring a new era to this world, the era of the Messiah, the era that you can be close with God. You will also build up the temple there. This is a place where people will come to sacrifice to God from all over the world. People will feel comfortable there. You will feel comfortable there. This is the place where I'm going to be there with you. Abraham is saying to God, how will I know that I will inherit this place? So God is saying to him a very interesting answer, saying to him, this is the mission of your kids. Now, there are two ways how to do this mission. One way is to be in your homeland and to be the nation, the light for the nations, the priest for the others. The second way is to go, from this place also to send all sorts of messengers to the world. And the second way is to be in some sort of an exile outside. At the beginning, it will be nice, like it happened in Egypt. But the second stage will be that you're going to suffer there because you didn't went out at the time from those places.
Wow.
It's written, what I said now, it's written down loud and clear in the Bible. Just you need to know how to read it. Let's move for a moment to chapter, let's see if I will find the exact chapter in a moment. Okay, let's see. I didn't prepare this one, I'm sorry.
We're thankful, Rabbi.
The chapter before that, here it is. Look for a moment, what's written down. Written down that Jacob is coming back from the exile in Laban, okay? He was in exile where he took his wives.
Yeah.
And then he's coming back. Okay? And And please read verse number 4 and 5.
4. Jacob sent angels ahead of him to his brother Esau to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, So shall you say to my master to Esau, Thus said your servant Jacob, I have sojourned with Laban, and I have tarried until now.
I have tarried until now. You see here? This is part of the problem. I stayed too long. I was supposed to come a bit earlier, and I didn't do it. And this is where it might be, okay, that that Esau is going to kill me. And this is what he's saying. And he said, if Esau comes to one camp and strikes it down, the remaining camp will escape. Okay? Let's go for a moment to a situation in the last century where Lord Balfour is stating that they captured the Hebrew land for building up the place for the Hebrew people. Okay? Balfour statement. And in San Remo, 2 years later, in Italy, they're also saying, they're deciding that the England people are holding this place, the Canaan place, that the Hebrew people will come back to their homelands. Now let's say, for example, that most of the Hebrew people in Europe hearing this and saying to themselves, okay, fair enough. Everybody is allowing us to come back to our homeland, and they would have come back to Israel. So the Holocaust, I don't know if even if it would have happened, okay, most of the Hebrew people won't die there. Okay, but most of the Hebrew people, unfortunately, stayed a bit more than what we can do, right? They stayed a bit more, and this is what happened. Because they stayed a bit more,
they tarried.
They tarried. So we lost so many people. I'm just showing how to read those verses in a way that it's being a bit more understood in the reality of life. So this is what is happening with Abraham. Suddenly, Abraham is learning from God that he is in a situation that he have a new mission in this world, I'll say it like that. And the mission is to bring the Messiah time to the world, and he is a bit surprised. Those are things that we saw last time, and this is what I'm saying, that the way that we are going to be the people for this world, or those who are teaching this world, could be in an honor way or by bondage, okay? In a way that we're being kicked out. Let's go, for example, the Spain time, 500 years ago, where Spain was so big in this world, and the Hebrew people there were very, very inside everything, and were very part of everything. And 500 years ago, the Ferdinand's king decided to throw out all the Hebrew people from there. Also, Spain went down, but with the Inquisition and all of those things, they did a very hard situation to the Hebrew people. Why that? Because the Hebrew people stayed there too much. It's with the Germany, it's with the Spain, it's with everywhere, all the time. Part of the problems that we have, that the Hebrew people are they don't understand the hint. It started also with Egypt. In Egypt also, it starts with Joseph, who is bringing a lot of life to Egypt with his dreams, and he's helping also the Pharaoh how to organize the kingdom and everything else. And it's continuing on with a situation where the Hebrew people are being slaved by the Egyptians. So we have here a situation. This is chapter 15. We have a situation
amazing
where God is saying to come on. I opened too much. I jumped. So in chapter 15, this is what we're learning. God is saying to Abraham, you're going to be the nation that is going to inherit a place, and going to show all of the people in this world how to get closer to God. Abraham is a bit amazed. He's asking God, how
For
do
clarity.
I know? Yeah, give us a bit clarity. Now, if the next generations will ask also for clarity, they're doing a sin because God already gave the clarity and he gave some sort of a covenant in a one-way ticket. Okay, so when we are sitting today in the Hebrew land and we're saying to ourselves, maybe we need to give part of this land to the Palestinian people, for example. So we are doing a sin because God gave it to us and we need to act and to behave in a normal way to the Palestinian people here. But this is the place where God said to us that this is where we need to be. And this is a place, or this is the thing, how we're going to bring good to this world by holding this land, and as it says here, okay, all the great land, and building up a place for the Hebrew, for all of the world to come to Jerusalem and get connected with God. And not to say to ourselves all the time, we're not sure, God, that we are supposed to inherit this place. This is chapter 15.
Yeah, that's doubt, flat out doubt. Yeah.
Yes, people, do you have any questions before we jump into?
Travis does. He's chomping at the bit there.
Well, this, yes, I am, because Rabbi.
Karen, can you see Karen? Karen also was with us in the retreat, right?
Rabbi and I had a little conversation somewhat like this, a question I had at the retreat about anti-Semitism in the world today, and the diaspora and Israelites being out in the world, and those who want to stay, like the 80% wanting to stay in Egypt. And we look at the anti-Semitism, and like I asked him, is this a way for Hashem to tell his people it's time to go home, to help those who don't want to go to know it's time to go there? So we talked about this, and this is alluding to this old lesson is getting there. And so that's what I'm trying to bring out, is that, like it says, Hashem works in mysterious ways. He has to punish sometimes to get people to do what they want. So my question is, Rabbi, as we watch this, how far do we go? I mean, we support the Israelite people, but do all of the righteous Israelites that are out here in the diaspora, all of the rabbis that we go to, do they have to aliyah? Or are we going to be able to keep them in our communities, or how are we going to do it other than Zoom? If they all aliyah, we will be lost, the Noahite out here in the world. So what I'm asking is, does everybody have to go, or are some going to stay in the diaspora? And I'll give it over to you there.
Wow, this is a very heavy question. Before that, I want to emphasize more what you said before, okay? And for seeing that, I want to go to the first exile that the Hebrew people had, and this is Jacob and his 11 kids, because Benjamin wasn't there yet. And we can see here, look, I'm in chapter 31, okay? And now we can see a few things. Jacob is managing to hear a few hints that he's supposed to go out, okay? And he heard the words of Laban's sons saying, Jacob has taken all that belongs to our father. And from what belongs to our father, he has amassed this entire fortune, okay? Point number one. Point number two, Jacob saw Laban's contentness, okay? That he was not disposed towards him as he was being yesterday and the day before. This wasn't enough. Now we see in verse number 3. Third thing, okay? God said to Jacob, return to the land of your forefathers and go back. It wasn't enough. Then Jacob is going to speak with Rachel and Leah, okay? He called them and he's trying to convince them to go, not to go. And he's also explaining a lot of things here in those verses. And then they're telling him, okay, both of them, Rachel and Leah replied, See, okay. Do we still have a share or anything in our, father's house, home? Okay. And then they're telling him, so now all that God said to you do, therefore go. And we see that Jacob wasn't, I will say, hurrying to come back to the home, to his homeland. He had a lot of
procrastination.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, what I'm saying, why I'm showing this, because I didn't share the screen, right? The screen. This is in chapter. In a moment, just to show this to you. This is in chapter. All what I read now was in chapter 31. Okay. So what we see here basically is that unfortunately the Hebrew people don't really realize the situation, and they have a lot of reasons why to stay. Now, I want to be very careful with the words that I'm going to say. As you all know, my parents did Aliyah. They came from New York, the United States. I think that you told me once that I have
in the early 60s, yes.
Yes, and I have some sort of a New York accent. Not from it's not really, but it's okay. They came from New York. And I did, I don't know if you know, I told you, I was living in Australia for 3 years. What I did in Australia, I was sent by the government to Australia to bring young adults to Israel. Okay, I was an educator as always. Okay, and I was pushing young adults to come to Israel. I have something like 30 people. It's not only me, but it's I have something like 30 people who came to Israel and they are living in Israel and everything else. Before I went to Australia to do this mission, I asked my father, I said to him, why the Hebrew people are still staying in the diaspora? And he answered me, and he said to me, it's very hard to explain. Go there and you will understand. I must say that I went there and I do understand, and it's very hard to explain. I don't have a reasonable explanation for that, okay? There are all sorts of reasonable explanation, but it's not the real one. I have part of my family is still in the United States. Part of my family we lost. I don't want to go inside to this, but a close family I'm speaking about, okay? Cousins and others, we lost. It's very hard for the family to have in a situation like that. The truth is that the Hebrew people are supposed to come back to the homeland, and part of the ways is what God is doing. On the other side, we need also to send outside to the diaspora in all sorts of places, messengers, like I did for 3 years in Australia, okay, that people will do in all sorts of places. And we also need to build up in Jerusalem a place where people, leaders from the Noachites, like people who are sitting here in this room, will come to us to learn for 3 months, 6 months, and we'll go back and we'll be all the time connected with Jerusalem. And those are the things that we need to do. Now, we are on the way to this point. Okay, Travis, we are on the way to this. Because if you look now to the situation, and you will look 30 years ago, I'll give you some sort of a very simple example of numbers. When I went to Melbourne and I was in charge of Melbourne, Sydney, Perth, Adelaide, and New Zealand, okay? In Melbourne and in Sydney, we had 100,000 Jews there.
Wow.
In each country, in each city. Today, you don't have this amount of people. You have much, much less than 100,000 people. And the same is, we're speaking about 25 years difference, okay? Half a decade. Half a decade, Yovel, what do you call it, 50 years. The same thing is happening with the United States. Now, there are those who are still very much frum, very, very Jewish, and they're not losing it. but we are also losing some of them to all sorts of ways, and some are coming. I will show another thing. Just that you will realize that how much this is a very big issue, okay, in the Hebrew nation. I think it's here. It's not. No, it's 14. Sorry, 14. So let's jump here. It's in 14. Don't be amazed now, okay? See, I wasn't so far. Don't be amazed now with what I'm going to show you. Please read. It came to a pass when Pharaoh let the people go. Please
17.
Read verse number 18, please.
18. So God led the people around by way of the desert to the Red Sea, and the children of Israel were armed when they went up out of Egypt.
What is the meaning of armed, Travis? What do you think? What is the meaning of armed?
They were armed with the might of the Father when they went out of Egypt. They also took the spoils of Egypt, so they were stronger.
Okay, fine. But this is not what is written down in the Hebrew language.
Okay. I don't know the Hebrew language that well.
I know. The word here, one of the explanations of the Hebrew language is armed. I want to show Rashi for a moment. This is very important. In the Hebrew language, it's a word that is saying few things. Not only, it's also the word armed, okay? But it's not the main word. Now,
18.
18, let's go to 18. First of all, chamushim, okay?
In this context, can only mean armed.
Don't read anymore. Okay, this is the first thing. Okay. Now I want to show another explanation that Rashi is hinting, and I will explain this a bit. Okay. Another explanation, another interpretation. Please read this.
Another interpretation means divided by 5, meaning that 1 out of 5 Israelites went out and 4/5 parts of the people died during the 3 days of darkness.
Enough. The word in Hebrew is saying 1 of 5. This is the exact word in Hebrew, not armed. Armed is the nicest, is a way to translate. But the main thing of this word is 1 of 5. So we have 4 people who stayed in Egypt, didn't went out. You can say that they died in the darkness and they got buried. You can say that they stayed there. You can say whatever you want to say. And only 1 went out. Now let's go back to the Holocaust time. Okay? Let's speak about my family. But my family is only an example. A lot of families like that. My grandmother had 7 brothers and sisters. One of her sisters ran away from Germany in 1931, and she ran away in 1937, 38, and the rest got buried and died in the days of the darkness in Europe, the Holocaust time. Like my family, we have a lot of families. So you see that it's already in the beginning. Why didn't they went out? I can tell you what the stories that I got from, in my family. When the aunt of my mother, okay, my grandmother's sister, went from Germany in 1933 to Israel, the family were very upset. How are you going a very modern place, leaving this place and going to a place with a lot of swamps and other things?
Desert, yeah.
Now, 10 years later, those who were very angry they already died in the darkness of the days of Europe. And she stayed alive.
Amazing.
The history is coming back always. This is life. Now, it's not only life. We need to realize that this is exactly how God is moving the path of the Hebrew nation, but not only the Hebrew nation. What I'm trying to show here, all those lessons that we are learning, the path of the humankind in this world. It starts with Adam and Eve, and it's continuing. The Hebrew nation is only the nation that have the mission to be the light for the nations.
Thank you very much, Rabbi. Excellent lesson. I have another deep one, but we'll wait on it.
What's written down?
Now, Rabbi, I've asked if anybody on YouTube has any questions. We got a lot of visitors there on YouTube today. We're actually, numbers are up a little bit. We even have our friend Arimus is joined us on YouTube.
Oh, it was good to see you. I can't see you. I will call you later on. Okay.
But nobody's asked any questions, so I've opened it up and just to see. We got lots of people. We still got our friend Solvig in Germany, our friend Barbara and Michaela P. in Germany as well. My friend Johnny Riggs from North Carolina, of course, and many others. Fred Rawls is there. Yeah, it's always just a joy to have a lot of people keep coming back. But if anybody's got any questions on YouTube, even on Facebook's, we've had good numbers on Facebook as well, but I'm not getting any questions written in the chat room. So,
okay. So first of all, in a moment, Rabbi will let you to ask a question. By the way, good to see you, Lara, also with us. And
Laura, hi.
Find there with the Rabbi of Chabad. I will answer the question of Jack. Jack is asking about why do we have
Elaine,
noise?
can you mute your microphone? Thank you.
Jack is asking about the Noahide. The answer is no. The Noahide are not supposed to live in Israel. To visit Israel, yes. To come to sacrifice in Israel when we have the temple, yes, of course. To learn in Israel the main points and from there to go back to the homelands and everything else, yes. To live in Israel, no. This is not the mission of the Noahide. The Noahide is mainly to be all over the world. And this is also something that I'm all the time saying. If you want, I will give a tricky way how to be written in the book of life. Okay, James, you're listening good. One of the tricky ways, it's for all of you, but James asked, is to bring others to the right path. When you're bringing others, it's written down in our books, okay? When you're bringing someone else to the right path, and he is going to be in the book of life, God is doing everything for you, helping you, that you will be also in the book of life, because it's unfair that you brought someone to the book of life and you won't be there, okay? So it's not only behaving in the right way, try also to bring others to the book of life, okay? This is an interesting way. So let's have Mike for a question, and then Travis also another question. Yes.
Yes,
Mike.
sir. It's with what you're saying there, that the Noahides should be coming to the land for 3-6 months to learn and then go back out to their communities to teach. Does that mean to say that the Noahides are part of the light of the nation?
Of course. And I will say it like that. The Noahide is part of the light of the nations. The leaders of the Noahide, this is very important to build up leaders for the Noahide. Okay, we didn't came to this stage yet, but hopefully we will. Okay, the leaders of the Noahide are part of the, how do you say it, lighthouse of the nations, right? This is how you say it. Of course, it's not a question. I think that today, okay, the people that are very involved in the Noahide movement, like our as you mentioned, people who are sitting in this class, people who are involved, or in other languages that we have today, you are part of the lighthouse of the nations. You are going, all of us are going to bring for the rest of the nations. Let's say, for example, someone who is coming just now to this issue of the Noahide. You can compare it to someone who is already here, this situation, and learning in the last few years more and more. Of course, as more that you are inside, more the time that you're inside, more that you're learning, you are more part of the leaders. Now, we have more than one ideas how to reorganize everything here in Israel and to have those things. As I said already, we also, with a connection with the government, with other things, to bring it to another level of, as a result of things that we spoke 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. And we are going to, we're going to continue on with this mission, with all of your help and everything else. So feel comfortable. Travis, you wanted to ask another question. We didn't have the time yet with the Rosh Hashanah. Next week, we're going to have a full lesson about Rosh Hashanah. Okay, fair enough. Yes, Travis.
Yes, Rabbi. This is, you can decline and do research or not answer this. It's a pretty in-depth question. It says, Hashem said to Pharaoh, I have let you live, that my name shall be discussed throughout the world. We today are not allowed to discuss or speak the name. When the time comes, the goodness of the Tetragrammaton, the name of Hashem, blessed be He, will it be brought to light? The positive energy that comes off of that particular name would outweigh the negative energy that is brought in by the evil side. And like I say, this is a very deep question about the name of the Creator. And I know how we revere it and don't use it in public or outside, and we don't blaspheme it. So that's my question. And we can get that lesson at a later date. It's been weighing on my mind, and I needed to ask it.
Just all feel comfortable, all of you, to ask whatever is on your mind, always. Not always in the middle of the week I have the time to sit down and to write an answer, full deep answer, so I'm doing it on the lessons.
Rabbi, I got a couple questions online.
It's also related to a question that Netzach asked me, okay, with the names of God. What I will say to now, the names of God, okay, I will show you, I think I showed you. So you see this book, Ginata Goes, never mind the name. See, it's a big book. The names of God is a very deep issue, okay, very profound issue in the learning of the Kabbalah, okay, the inside of the Hebrew people. We have a lot of books about this, and this is one of the issues. We have few issues. One of the issues is a very big and deep issue. The main point that I can mention here at this point of time is that it changed the appearance of God and his name. 2 points I will say. First of all, it changed along history. Okay? For example, Samuel, before he was born, his mother, Hannah, in Shiloh, one of the places when you will come to Israel, we're going to show you, you're going to experience. She is bringing new name to God. But we have a long history, 10 names, okay? And the names, the appearance of God is different from time to time. And there's a difference from the time that he existed in this world with the prophets and the time that we lost the prophecy. In the Temple Mount, there is one way how to express the name of God. And when we don't have the Temple Mount, people started to have wrong interpretations of the way of God, and they change, okay? How to even to answer when someone is saying a blessing. The time that there were prophets, they said the blessings and the answer in one way, and since then we're saying the blessings and the answers in a different way. Because the name of God, the appearance of God is different. And of course, when God will come back with the prophecy and everything else, and with the Temple Mount and the sacrificing and all of those things, also the name of God and his appearance will be a bit different. And it's true that the name of God and the way how to say it and the meaning of those things is giving a lot of recharge to the batteries that we have, okay? But this is a very closed issue that today is being held out only with the Kabbalah people. We say mainly all that we say, the word, what we call adnut, that he is a king, okay? We say this word when we're blessing, and we say the word Hashem, his name. This is the interpretation. Those are the two words that we're saying. We also, I mentioned last week, okay, the word Edei Yehovah, what they calling themselves. The word Yehovah, Yud Kei Vav Kei, is the letters of how you're writing the name of God. But you're not saying those words. You're not saying them. You're not using them. It's when I taught something, as a teaching, I said this word. But usually you're not saying it. You're not mentioning it. And more than that, also when you're learning in the inside books of the Kabbalah, you are not saying the words of God. You're saying there's a lot of words there that you need when you're learning that you're meeting all sorts of words and how it's written down. You're saying this in a different way. There's a way how to say those words and not to say them in the way that their appearance. To think, but not to say. Okay? This is what we can say about this issue.
Yes, sir. Baruch Hashem. Thank you very much.
Okay. What we didn't spoke about Rosh Hashanah. We lost Dan, I think. We
I'm
didn't
back,
spoke
Rabbi.
about Rosh Hashanah. Dan, I closed you because you did a lot of noise. We can listen to you. If we lost Dan.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. You did a lot of noise. That is why I closed it. We didn't spoke about Rosh Hashanah. 2 weeks from now and another day, we're starting Rosh Hashanah. I will say one thing that I said also in the retreat, but I will explain this a bit again. And next week, we're going to speak about Rosh Hashanah. What is the meaning of Rosh Hashanah and what exactly is the worship of God of this day? It's very important because people have a lot of imaginations. I don't know from where it's coming. Let's behold, not to deal with all of the imaginations, and instead of that, to do the right thing. A year, how do we count the timing of the year? If you know a bit how the Gregorian calendar is working, it's
Right.
working through the understanding how long it will take the sun from one place to do all the circle and to come back to the same place. Okay? How long it will take? Who knows? 365 days.
And a quarter.
Every 365 days and a quarter of a day. Okay? It's very important also. In a quarter of a day, the sun will come back exactly to the same point. Okay? Or I will say the earth is turning around the sun to exactly the same point after 365 days. How many times it's taking the moon to circle around the earth? Okay, I just don't, I don't want to misunderstand. 365 days is exactly the time for the earth to go around the sun. How many times it's taking the moon to go around the earth? It's taking it 29 days and 6 hours. Okay, 6 hours of the day. So when you compiling 12 times that the moon went around the earth, you are missing 10 days between the year of the sun and the year of the moon. Okay? Those 10 days, those are the 10 days, what we call the 10 days of tshuva. The 10 days that are doing, I will say, the liaison between the year of the sun and the year of the moon. Those are 10 days that are related to the last year and also related to the next year. They are related to the last year that I can do repeatness for the bad things that I did in the last year. And they are related to the next year where I'm taking on myself all sorts of missions and ideas and responsibilities for bringing my life to a better life for this coming next year. Okay, starting to realize? Now we need to know what exactly are we doing in the first day, Rosh Hashanah, and what we're doing in the 10th day, Yom Kippur. Those are 2 different days with 2 different missions. Okay? And then we can go to Sukkot that is related to all of nations.
Beautiful.
Okay. So,
Rabbi, can you take a couple questions from online or no?
Yes. First of all, now we're starting to realize what is happening here. Next week, I'm going to explain the Rosh Hashanah issue.
Beautiful.
I'm going to show you amazing things that are written down in the prayer book. Look in the prayer book, okay? In the last 4,000 years of the Hebrew nation, not one day, not 2 days.
So that'll be next week, folks. We'll be talking about Rosh Hashanah. It's going to be great.
Okay.
One question about the lost tribes. Will they be returning to Israel before Mashiach?
Great question. There's a very big debate in the Hebrew tradition. What will happen with the 10 tribes? Don't know. I don't know the answer. Some are saying they will come back. Some are saying they won't come back. We have few rabbis who are working very hard to find the 10 tribes. For example, in the Taliban, you know, the Taliban now that captured, it's amazing to see.
In Kabul,
what's happening there. But in the Taliban, there are also few tribes inside there. One of the tribes in Taliban saying that they are part of the 10 lost tribes. But we have people that are working very hard to find those tribes.
Confirm,
Who knows? We don't know.
Okay, I got another.
No, I will say another word. The Maimonides is saying part of the things that will happen in those days, we don't know until they will happen. So maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know.
On Facebook, David Chadwick's asking. He says, could you speak about what Adam learned about Teshuvah from Cain's repentance? Is there anything that Adam would have picked up from Cain's repentance?
Great question. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. When we are going to speak before Yom Kippur about the repeatedness, I will explain also this. Basically, Adam didn't do repeatedness. Cain did repeatedness, and Adam learned from Cain how to do repeatedness. But we will go inside to this. Between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, before the Yom Kippur celebration, we will speak about the repeatedness. So we'll explain this also. Awesome. Great question.
That was from David Chadwick on Facebook.
Okay. Yes,
excellent.
Just wanted to mention regarding to lost tribes, we have identified 27 families in Turkey completely assimilated, and their children, some of their children, like their cousins, are not married yet, so they're maintaining their Jewish status. But to the outside world, no one can tell that they're Jews. They're completely assimilated. Wow. But they have a desire to, come back to their roots.
First of all, very amazing. Thank you very much for that. I will say that it's very important to know that there is no rabbi that will say that those from the 10 tribes, those who will come back, all of them are supposed to do a conversion, because the Jewish tradition held or preserved few things. The 10 tribes got lost much before the Jewish tradition became as it is today. And therefore, they're supposed to do also some sort of they need to do some sort of conversion. Yes. Okay.
Wow. Amazing.
Fine. Fine. First of all, thank you very much for being with us tonight.
We didn't see Lee. I thought Lee was coming. He sent me a text earlier. Somebody was looking for.
I will ask him to come next week or the week before that for saying hello before Rosh Hashanah. I will ask him to come. it's very important for me also to mention next Sunday we're going to do another Beit Din, another thing that is going to with 3 rabbis.
A pledge.
The pledge, okay, for those who want to come. So you might get also an email because in all sorts of ways we have a block of people that are getting the email. So I'm sorry, Angelica, that you're getting it all the time, again and again. But also anybody else.
You're very busy, Rabbi. We're,
Well, fair enough. But we are going to take it out again an email. And if you know someone that it's might help him or something like that, you can send it to him also. And have a great week. How can I say?
All right, folks. So, yeah, we're going to sign out for this week. Come on and join us back next week, folks, where we're going to talk about Rosh Hashanah in more detail. Live from Jerusalem with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg. It's going to be a great time. So we wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week. Until next week, folks, have a great, great time.
Thank you, Karen. Also, okay. Bye, everybody. Great week.
Have a nice week. See you next week.
Bye, Rabbi.